What's going on, everyone? So, by popular demand, I have gun Gley. Gun Gley is a different type of Gley other than the Sanguine Massacre. The Massacre is the typical, and you see her shooting laser beams out of her hand. For a more comprehensive guide on Gley, there will be a link in the description to my original Massacre Gley. Please don't go in there copying that build. That build is for Pocket Luna, but it is good enough by itself. It's also just known as Massacre Crit Gley if you want crit in your arsenal. But first, drip check. Gley's typical fourth ability is a unique weapon that uses the stats of the weapon that you switch off to and deals additional skill damage to that weapon. Gun Gley, or at least my Gun Gley, uses demonic modification. The demonic modification is really different. It uses the same firearm attack plus all equipped modules, but it has its own unique stats. In addition, the Frenzied does add skill damage, but I do not care about this skill damage in my build because it is essentially inconsequential. If you'll see over here on this side of the screen in the equipped weapon slot, we have a firearm attack of 34.5, a fire rate, and other stats, 5% and 10% weak point damage respectively. Then if you'll notice inside of demonic modification Massacre, these are the stats of your weapon. Minus firearm attack. It has its own fire rate, no reload, its own crit damage, and weak point damage. Now, all of these numbers will be affected by both the weapon rolls and the module rolls on the gun. I have used Ominous Hound, no rolls, no modules, to showcase this. Since it uses its own stats other than the attack, the highest attack in the game, the Piercing Light, does outshine every other gun in the game by a lot. There is not another gun to use on demonic modification other than Piercing Light. Not Afterglow, not a shotgun, not Perforator. Sorry for your loss. You will notice something quite strange about demonic modification. I do 33 damage on a not crit, not weak point, 103 on a crit weak point, and then 57 on a weak point. Why is this important? Because if I put skill power on, as well as skill power modifier, the same damage occurs. Why does the same damage occur? Because on the gun itself, the skill power has no bearing on the damage of the shot itself. The only thing it does do is add additional damage. This additional damage, in my opinion, is inconsequential in the actual damage that the gun could be dealing. So there is no skill power on the build. Your mount doesn't matter. The reactor's power doesn't matter. Your skill power doesn't matter. When it says 15.8% per 0.1 second, that is a multiplier of the damage. 57 weak point not crit, 103 weak point crit. You'll see a charging bar here. This charges up, and whenever your health stops draining around 30% of your health gauge, so 331 weak point not crit. Why is it so high? Because it is in fact multiplying the damage. This is how demonic modification works. Please do not go stacking skill power on demonic modification. You will be leaving a lot of utility and damage on the table. Now that we know how the ability works, we can go into the stats of the gun. This is my Piercing Light currently. These two slots. You will be tempted to run Edging Shot. Do not run Edging Shot. This will be an overall lowering of your damage. You do not need ammunition. Concentration priority is a must, but essentially the idea is to just stack as much critical damage and weak point damage as much as possible without caring about rounds in the magazine, fire rate, or any of those quality of life options. I have left 2 module slots open here, and weak point expansion is basically a must. The only thing you should know about weak point expansion is that the first shot, 32 million, and the next shot, if not made within 10 seconds, will seem like half the damage. So don't go crazy trying to figure out why your damage numbers are alternating, like this guy. However, for the Gley build herself, we have this build. This build right here, the only thing that contributes to your damage. I have two builds for Gley. I have this one, which I do run. I call it the demonic modification build. And then the other build, which is simply taking HP collector and swapping it off for walk the tightrope, which I called a save me Ajax build. Set bonuses. It is very hard to get a good set bonus with this set. You can use the annihilation set. However, once again, you have to be dying, which you don't want to be dying, and one round of demonic modification will not set you to 50%, so I don't think it's worth running. I have the acrobat set because it contributes to your critical hit rate. At base of the build, you should have around a 33% critical hit rate. If you have a Enzo or a Luna in your party, this is way higher, assuming the Luna has the firearm buff and not the standard Luna. Super fun to play with Enzo. But as you saw before, it is capable of 35 million damage, barring the enemy's defense. Before anyone goes in and saying you shouldn't test on level 1 enemies, I'm going to explain to you why you should test on level 1 enemies. You should test on level 1 enemies because you know the exact amount of damage that your weapon can do. And then using math or a monster stats, you can calculate how much damage you would be doing against the creature that you would be doing it to. That is why testing on level 1 enemies is most important. Base damage. That being said, because skill power plays no role, you don't need to mount a weapon for this. You just need to find the best reactor that you can find. I have my Python Gley reactor, which I'm just going to use anyway, because it's duration up and skill cooldown. The reason I have this is because of the secondary effect of Gun Gley. The secondary effect of Gun Gley is infinite ammunition. This is, of course, the executor, and it does mad deeps. This is with real life fighter. If you want more consistent damage, I recommend special sight. However, real life fighter will be more damage, both in numbers and over time. The only difference with both of those is that inside of dungeons, there is effects that prevent them from taking crit or weak point damage. If that is the case, do whatever you want with your executor. But I am not resocketing this for dungeons. I'll just go in there and kill the guy anyway. And then whenever you are so behooven, you can activate infinite ammo to not consume the ammo in your gauge. And then you can slap things for millions and millions of damage. Yes, that number was accurate. Changes to the build. If you don't have shot focus, you can always run whatever you want to run. I run autoimmunity because there is a secondary effect on the exclusive weapon, and that is healing you for 20%. Autoimmunity not only prevents 10% of all damage except for that 20%, but gives you a 7.4% recovery to HP, which does affect the HP recovery. This is the Acrobat set. It sports a 21% critical hit rate on your firearms. If you run this set, you will suffer a little bit of reduced health, but honestly, I do think 12,000 health is enough, especially when you are supporting HP collector. Like I said, there are two builds. Use this build and walk the tightrope, which will give you more damage, way more damage. Now, if you want to take off HP recovery or walk the tightrope, you will see numbers close to 40 million damage. If you have walk the tightrope on and annihilator set, and you get yourself next to dying, you can see damage numbers up to 250,000. However, that playstyle is not for me, even though it is about 5 million damage a shot. I'll stick with the 4 million damage a shot to not just be revived by Ajax every 5 seconds. At the end of this video, there will be another video of me running a dungeon with it, and I guess I'll go kill Devourer, everyone's favorite testing dummy. And there you go. And because of how demonic modifications works, you can't just go into the sniper round. Whenever you kill an enemy with Gley, they spawn little blood orbs at a chance. You have to pick up the blood orbs. They give you orb of life. and it fills up the red bar down here, which I go over in the video in the description. So for now, we have to wait for roly-polies to spawn to get the desired effect of demonic modification. And my ammunition has arrived. You only need one blood orb to activate this. And you can proc increase sensory to get infinite ammo. That was a non-crit. You can see his health is a non-crit. If you would like to one-shot Devourer, you will need this build, plus be almost dying with a Walk the Tightrope on and an Annihilation set. That will one-shot the Devourer on the kneecap, but like I said, you have to wait for ads to spawn. It's not really reliable. I don't think you should be building Void Intercept builds deliberately around demonic modification, but it is something very good to have in your back pocket because it will one-shot the Devourer's kneecaps on a not crit. For general gameplay of this weapon, please see the defense video. As long as you have HP collector on, that video will pretty much work in your favor. Now, there is something I am running inside of the defense video, and you should be aware of it. Biodensity augmentation. If you've done any amount of the content in the season, you should be able to activate at least this one. If you think that putting resource cost into your build, like these 3 modules, will save you on hit point cost when aiming down sights, they will not. As you can clearly see, I took the same amount of damage. Sorry for your loss. I have auto immunity on for a general purpose. If you would like to take much less damage, please equip elemental resistance. However, in most case scenarios, I think HP collector is fine, unless you are specifically void bossing. If you are void bossing, you can take HP collector off and auto immunity for total resistance. So if you go farm for a good set of external components, I recommend just slotting resistance on all of them, because you don't need anything except for hit points and resistance on Gley. I have opted for a farming build because I do be caring about that XP. A note on the guns, Executor is probably the best gun in the game right now, thanks to the buff. I did an earlier video like 12 hours after it came out. You have to have piercing light if you're going to run demonic modification, which isn't required, but I enjoy having it as a backup in my arsenal. And then you want some kind of ad clearing weapon. I have chosen Greg's Reversed Fate over the Thunder Cage simply because Greg's Reversed Fate has range. But plenty of these guns work, especially with Gley's infinite ammo. If you're going to utilize Gley's infinite ammo increase sensory third ability, the best guns to do this with is Greg's Reversed Fate, King Guardian's Lance, as her third ability prevents them from being used ammo-wise. Python with Sharp Precision Shot on it, because after you hold the weapon down long enough, you can see this insane fire rate.
All my senses will come alive.
And yes, my Python is critting for 500,000 damage. If you're interested in that build, here it is. You can use Vestigial Organ Rocket Gley, but honestly, I'm not slotting in either an energy activator or catalyst into that thing. So here we are. And of course, you can use Piercing Light as a backup with your infinite ammo. That was Gun Gley. I hope y'all enjoy. Let me know what other builds y'all would like to see from the Descendants down below. And at the end of the video is a very cushy dungeon invasion run because of HP collector. Check out my channel if you like the way I do content. Consider subscribing. I do a lot of these tests on Twitch Live. I play with the chat and we have a good time. Twitch also in the description. Y'all have a sick day. Peace out. But if you want it for like farming, fantastic gun for farming.
Which uses inversion energy. It has a large output, which requires processing of tens of billions of units of data per second. According to the scan results, the structure that appears to be a computing device is full of Vulgus artificial brains.
Oh my god.
Processing all that data. Continue to insert Vulgus artificial brains into the computing
My cooldowns. They smacked me out of my cooldowns.
Overload the device. The veil will
There we go.
neutralize.
Oh, I'm full, guys.
Will not be.
Well, this takes a lot longer than Bunny. 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 Come to me, enemies. Come to me.
Feel the
Why? Why, game? Why have you done this to me?
Unfortunately, so is her G7 card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it.
Ew. Gross. All these missions are for Bunny, to be honest. Nah, it's okay. Every mission's for Bunny. Pimp. Mission is for Lepic. This whole game is for Bunny. You seen the amount of, like, cosmetics she has?
The enemy commander is using the phase separation veil as a shield. If you overload the computing device, you can create a to attack the commander directly. I smell it.
Well, where's the thingy? Oh.
All my senses. Wow. There is no forgiveness.